Most men fall into a silent trap after a woman pulls away. They believe that if they were kind, loyal, and consistent, she'll miss them eventually. They wait. They hope. They assume that their goodness will echo back into her heart one day. But the real world doesn't work like that. Women don't miss reliability. They don't miss effort. They don't even miss loyalty. Not until something shakes their emotional world. And until that moment comes, you're nothing more than a distant memory, one she feels no urgency to revisit. Here's what most men don't realize. She won't start missing you when you text her just to check in. She won't miss you when you post a photo with a forced smile. She won't even miss you when you pretend to be fine. She begins to miss you the moment the power shifts. When she senses that something inside you has changed. Not out of bitterness, but out of stillness. When your absence is no longer a tactic, it's a reality. You must become the man who doesn't chase, who doesn't explain, who doesn't wait around hoping she sees your worth. Become the man who vanishes with intention, the man who creates silence she can't interpret, the man who stirs her curiosity, triggers her fear of losing you, and makes her question if she truly understood your value. That's when she feels it, not when you try harder, but when you do nothing. In this video, we'll break down 7 clear, cutting-edge psychological shifts, cold, precise moves that make her feel your absence like a void she can't ignore. If you've ever been ghosted, overlooked, or replaced, this is where the power flips. Let's begin. 1. Emotional disconnection. The first time she truly starts to miss you isn't when you disappear physically, it's when your emotional presence fades. Most men don't realize this, but women are deeply attuned to emotional energy. They can sense it like a shift in the air. You might still live in the same city, cross paths with her friends, post stories she might see, but none of it matters if she doesn't feel your emotions orbiting around her anymore. That's when the real discomfort sets in. She used to be your priority. You checked in. You worried about her. You showed care, even if subtly. And she could feel that energy, whether she acknowledged it or not. But now, nothing. No random texts. No soft reminders of your presence. No emotional signals floating in her direction. Just silence. But not the kind that screams or seeks attention. Not the kind that's full of pain or passive aggression. This silence is different. It's still. It's detached. It's the kind of calm that whispers, "I've reclaimed myself." This emotional disengagement does something she didn't expect. It disrupts her sense of control. Because whether she loved the attention or not, she had grown used to being emotionally central in your world. Now that emotional current has stopped flowing and she starts wondering, what happened, what changed, why does it feel like he's gone? And that's when the reverse pull begins. She begins to scroll through old messages, revisits your photos, checks if you've posted anything new, asks mutual friends about you carefully, indirectly, not because she's in love, but because your emotional silence now echoes louder than words. The twist is, she won't say a word. Pride won't let her. But deep inside, she's unsettled. The man who once gave her a sense of emotional security is no longer offering that. That absence creates a void she didn't anticipate. But here's the key. You don't get here by pretending. This isn't about playing cold or putting on a mask. This shift happens only when you make a conscious decision to reclaim your time, your peace, your energy. When you realize that you gave too much to someone who never truly valued it, you begin to detach from a place of clarity, not revenge. That's when your silence becomes undeniable. She hears it every day, not through notifications or missed calls, but through what's no longer there. The warmth, the pull, the presence. You've removed your emotional availability. And it's not a punishment, it's a boundary. This new version of you, calm, dignified, unmoved, it shakes her more than anger ever could, because she expected you to linger. She expected the emotional leash to remain, even if the connection was broken. But now, you've cut that cord. You're not just silent, you're no longer invested. And that is the exact moment she starts to miss you. Not because you said something, not because you chased, but because the version of you who once poured into her is now pouring into himself. And for the first time, she feels the true weight of what she lost. 2, she sees you've replaced her focus. The second moment she starts to truly miss you is when she realizes she's no longer the center of your world. Not when you stop texting, not when you go quiet for a few days, but when your energy has clearly shifted and it's no longer revolving around her. Most men remain stuck emotionally long after a breakup. They might stop calling, but their mind stays trapped in the orbit of a woman who's already moved on. They check her Instagram, they monitor who liked her story. They post vague captions, hoping she'll see them and react. And even if she doesn't say a word, she knows. Women have a radar for attention. They know when you're still emotionally available, and as long as she senses that, she doesn't feel your absence. Because you never really left, but the dynamic changes the moment your focus is no longer on her. Not just on a new woman, but on your goals, your mission, your growth, your body, your discipline, your future. She starts checking your profile, expecting to see signs of heartbreak, but instead she sees consistency, discipline, progress. You're showing up stronger, sharper, more grounded. There are no emotional breadcrumbs, no indirect messages, no desperate attempts to be noticed. And that's when it hits her, not because you're trying to hurt her, but because you stop trying to impress her. You're no longer performing for her validation. You've outgrown the emotional leash she once used to hold. That shift stings more than silence ever could. What unsettles her isn't just that you're okay, it's that you're thriving, and she had nothing to do with it. You see, deep down, she believed she was the best thing you had. She assumed, no matter how things ended, you'd carry some scar of losing her. But now, you're building a life that has no space for her memory. Not out of hate, not out of bitterness, but because you've moved forward with purpose. You've replaced her presence with practices that elevate you. Early mornings at the gym, late nights refining your skills, reconnecting with your mission, spending time around men who challenge and sharpen you. And without saying a word, your life tells a story she can't ignore. You no longer revolve around her, and she knows it. Now she begins to question herself. Did I underestimate him? Is someone else experiencing the man he's becoming? Was I blind to his value? These questions echo in her head, and they don't come when she's surrounded by attention. They show up in quiet moments, late at night, early in the morning, when she checks your page and sees no sign of grief, no trail of longing, just growth. That's what breaks her. Not the silence, but the substitution. You replaced her, not with another woman, but with purpose. That's more threatening than any rebound, because it tells her you've evolved beyond needing her to feel whole. It tells her she wasn't the fuel for your greatness, she was just a phase before your rise. And that reality burns deeper than jealousy. The most painful part for her isn't watching you walk away. It's realizing she's no longer a part of your focus, and she has no say in what comes next. You've reclaimed your time. You've redirected your attention. You've broken the cycle of emotional orbit, And when a man does that, he doesn't just shift his direction, he shifts the power. That's when she starts to miss the way you once looked at her. Not because she loved the look, but because now, that same look belongs to something else. Something she can't touch, something she can't control, and something that no longer includes her. 3. She notices you've stopped reaching out. There comes a moment she never sees coming. A moment she quietly dreads but would never admit. It's the morning she picks up her phone expecting something from you, a check-in, a short message, even a simple, "How have you been?" But there's nothing. No message, no DM, no signal, just silence. And not the kind of silence that's unsure or waiting for a reply. This is the silence that feels final, the kind that doesn't beg to be broken. At first, she brushes it off. Maybe you're busy. Maybe you're playing it cool. Maybe you're trying to make her chase. She tells herself it's temporary. She believes you'll reach out soon, like always. But then time passes, days, a week, more, and still nothing. That's when it begins to sink in. The realization that you're no longer trying to be part of her world, not even subtly, not even emotionally. The attention she once took for granted now feels like an empty hallway, quiet, cold, unfamiliar. What most men don't realize is how much power they lose by always being available. Every just checking in text, every double message, every midnight call. Each one is fuel for her comfort. It reassures her, even if she's distant, even if she walked away, you're still there, still orbiting, still emotionally loyal. This is what we call emotional insurance. And as long as she holds that policy, she never truly misses you. Because there's no absence, no urgency, no consequence. But when you finally cut the line, when you stop reaching out, not because you're hurt, but because you've healed, everything changes. She begins to feel the void. And it's not just about missing the messages, it's the feeling of not being thought about, of no longer being important in the background. See, women don't expect you to leave. They expect you to linger quietly, to hold on, even in silence, to remain a silent safety net. So when your silence is no longer passive, but resolved, it shakes her. It disrupts her sense of emotional control. And that's when the questions begin. Why hasn't he called? Did I really lose him? Has he moved on? Did he stop caring? And these questions echo the loudest, not when she's out with friends or posting on social media. They creep in during the still moments, when her phone stays silent. Late at night, early in the morning, moments she used to hear from you. Moments where she once felt seen. Now, just stillness. But here's the truth. This kind of silence doesn't work if it's just a tactic. It only works when it's genuine. When you've accepted, at your core, that chasing someone who doesn't value you is a waste of your soul. You don't stop reaching out to punish her. You stop because you've outgrown the cycle, because you've stepped into self-respect, because you've matured beyond the need for validation from someone who only responded to pressure. And when that silence comes from clarity, not pain, it carries more weight than 1,000 messages ever could. She feels it, even if she never says a word, even if she pretends it doesn't affect her. Women are incredibly sensitive to emotional presence, especially from a man who once gave it freely. So when it vanishes, not out of spite but peace, it leaves a mark. It's not your absence that confuses her. It's your indifference, your stillness, your complete detachment. And what stings isn't that you're gone. It's that the door she thought was always open has quietly closed and locked itself without announcement. She realizes that the man who once tried is no longer trying, not because he's angry, but because he's done. And that's the moment she starts missing what she assumed would always be there. 4. She realizes you're no longer emotionally accessible. There's a shift she never expected. Not when you go silent, not when you stop calling, but when she tries to reconnect and finds that the door to your emotions has been locked. That's when it hits her. You see, for a long time, she believed you were still emotionally within reach, even if she walked away, even if she ignored your efforts, even if she entertained other options. She thought that deep down, you were still available. She assumed that if she ever felt lonely enough, if she changed her mind, you'd be there, waiting, open, because you always had been. She believed she had emotional access to you, not through commitment, but through familiarity. And then one day, she reaches for you, maybe directly, maybe through a vague message, maybe by just watching to see if you'll notice. But this time, nothing happens. You don't respond the way you used to. You don't react. You don't let her in. The door she once opened with a glance now doesn't budge. And that, more than anything else, rattles her. You're not playing hard to get. You're not being distant to spark desire. You've simply moved on emotionally. You've withdrawn from a space she thought she owned. And she feels that absence not as a punishment, but as a void she didn't see coming. Men are often taught to be physically tough, but rarely to protect their emotional energy. That's why so many allow women to come and go like a revolving door, no matter the disrespect, the silence, the indifference. He remains emotionally loyal. But here's the truth. Emotional loyalty is not strength when it's given without standards, and when you finally stop handing over that access. When you stop explaining, stop hoping, stop holding space in your heart for someone who no longer earns it, something changes. Not in her world, in yours. You begin to reclaim your center. You build a wall, not out of bitterness, but from wisdom. You stop allowing her into your thoughts. You don't feed her ego with replies. You no longer engage in small talk, guilt-driven conversations, or subtle tests she throws your way. You don't act cold, you simply become unavailable. And she knows the difference. This isn't arrogance, it's clarity. The kind that comes after emotional exhaustion. You now see what she never saw. Your emotions are valuable, and access to them that's earned, never assumed. So when she comes knocking and finds the gate closed, something in her shifts. She tries to reconnect. She replays the last thing you said. She checks if she misread your silence. She wonders, did I go too far? Did I push him away for good? And for the first time, she realizes you are no longer hers to reach. That emotional comfort she once relied on, it's gone. Not loud, not cruel, just gone. The warmth is missing. The softness is gone. Your attention no longer on her. And that kind of withdrawal, it breaks her. Not because you left, but because now, if she wants connection, she has to work for it. She has to initiate. She has to be the one who reaches out. And that's a dynamic she's never had to face with you. You've reversed the roles. She once had the power to pull you back with a word, a look, a memory. But now, none of it works. Because you're not reactive. You're not available. And that emotional unavailability, it haunts her. She doesn't just miss your presence. She misses the emotional safety you gave so freely, the access she never had to ask for, the comfort of knowing you were always there, even when she wasn't. Now she's the one left wondering, replaying, overthinking, and the man who once stood open and unguarded now protects his peace like a fortress. That's when she truly begins to miss you. Not the version of you she took for granted, but the depth she once had and never valued. 5. She sees you're getting attention from other women. There's a specific kind of pain that strikes deep into a woman's ego. It's not when you go silent, not when you walk away. It's when she sees that other women now see what she overlooked. And not just any attention, it's effortless, natural, organic attraction. The kind where your presence alone draws admiration, where women lean in, not because you're trying, but because you've become magnetic without even meaning to. She might not admit it, but that's the moment she begins to spiral. Why? Because it proves something she didn't want to believe. You were never the problem. The illusion she built, where she had time to explore her options, because you'd always be there. As her emotional safety net collapses, she expected you to wait, to remain emotionally stuck in the same place. She left you. But when she sees other women smiling at you, laughing with you, commenting on your photos, or spotted beside you in stories, it shatters that illusion of control. Now she has to face what she denied. She may have lost something valuable, and someone else now gets to experience it. But here's where most men get it wrong. They try to force this moment. They manufacture jealousy, posting staged photos, trying to flaunt female attention like trophies. And it backfires, because real power isn't about playing games. It's about evolution. True attention from women happens as a result, not as a strategy. When you improve your discipline, elevate your purpose, strengthen your presence, and sharpen your energy, women notice, not because you begged for it, but because you became undeniably valuable, and the female psyche is finely attuned to rising male value. It's instinctual. She can feel it. The shift in your confidence, the way you walk, the certainty in your words, the calm in your silence. Now she's watching from the sidelines, observing what she used to have, and wondering if someone else is now enjoying the best version of you. And that thought, it lingers. She wonders, is he more affectionate with her? Is she getting the version of him I never truly appreciated? Does he laugh with her the way he used to with me? But what really haunts her isn't the romance, it's the realization that you're no longer available. You're not looking back. You're not bitter. You're just better. And now, someone else might be getting the emotional depth, the attention, the care that she once took for granted. Even the smallest signs trigger her a new woman's name in a comment, a photo where your energy looks lighter, a story with a blurred silhouette of someone beside you. It doesn't even need to be explicit. The suggestion is enough. And because she can't ask you directly, the questions torture her in silence. That's when the comparison begins. Not between you and her, but between her and the new woman. It's not love that drives the missing. It's jealousy. It's regret. It's fear. The fear that what she once dismissed is now being cherished by someone else. That the man she assumed would always orbit her is now the center of someone else's world. But here's the truth. This power only comes when you're authentic, not trying to prove anything, not trying to bait her reaction. You're not doing this for her. You're doing this for you. You've moved forward with clarity. You've built a life rooted in peace, purpose, and presence. You're not chasing approval anymore. You've become the kind of man who draws it without effort. So don't fake it. Don't force it. Let your transformation speak for itself. When she sees that you've become desirable to others without needing to chase, explain. or seek revenge, that's when she starts to miss you. Not the old you, not the one who begged, but the man you became after she left. 6. She can't predict you anymore. There's a point when silence stops being predictable and starts becoming powerful, and that's when she begins to miss you in a way she never expected. You see, women don't miss men they can figure out. They don't miss the guy whose next move is obvious. They don't feel the sting of loss when everything you do follows a script they've already seen before. Most men are entirely too predictable after a breakup or rejection. She knows you'll text eventually. She knows you'll watch her stories, like her posts, maybe even send a late night. How are you just to stay on her radar? Even your silence feels temporary to her because she can feel that you're still emotionally tied to her energy. And that's the problem. As long as she can anticipate your actions, she doesn't have to feel your absence. There's no mystery, no tension, no disruption to her emotional comfort. But the moment you stop playing the role she cast you in, something shifts. When you stop checking her stories, when you stop responding to her subtle attention-seeking, when you don't double text after being ignored, when you no longer post indirect status updates trying to make her wonder. She starts to feel uncertain. That uncertainty eats at her. It interrupts her confidence. It breaks the emotional routine she used to rely on. Now she's asking questions. Why hasn't he reached out? Is he talking to someone else? Did he really let me go? The silence, once expected, now becomes unsettling. And that's when her mind begins looping. Because what the mind can't explain, it obsesses over. But here's the key. You're not doing this to manipulate. You're not ghosting her out of spite. You're not running a psychological trick. You've simply detached. You've shifted from being emotionally reactive to being grounded. You're no longer orbiting her emotions. You're no longer performing for her approval. You're no longer trying to win back someone who already dismissed your value. Now, your actions are based on direction, not desire. You speak less. You move with purpose. You don't explain. You don't chase. You simply exist in your own space with peace and certainty. And that's what gets under her skin, because unpredictability, when it comes from genuine growth, not game-playing, triggers a very deep form of regret. She's not just confused by your distance. She's disturbed by your calm. She starts wondering what changed him, who helped him heal. Is he finally done needing me? That mystery pulls her in because it means you're no longer emotionally accessible. And here's the paradox. The more unpredictable you become in your silence, the more predictable her obsession becomes. She'll overthink. She'll replay every moment. She'll look for clues, and none of it will give her the answers she wants. Because you've become the one thing she never expected, unreachable. If this message stirred something in you, if you've ever been through that silent shift where you stopped chasing and watched her start wondering, then drop a comment below. What was the exact moment she realized you were no longer available? Was it the silence, the calm, or when she saw you thriving without her? Your story might help another man find his strength. And if this video spoke to you, hit that like button to support the channel and subscribe so you don't miss future insights on Stoic strength, masculine power, and emotional freedom. We're building a brotherhood here, one grounded man at a time. See you in the next one.